The second step in your career path, in your search for careers, is called the resume. You really want to show that you are a great candidate. You are a candidate that they want to hire, and that's what you use your resume for. Resume is a major career communication tool, and you really want to shine, because resume is the first and probably can be the only opportunity for you to show who you are, to be in contact with the employer and really catch their attention. So the main purpose of the resume is to win this 15 to 30 seconds that every employer spends on looking at the interview, to grasp their attention and to say, hey, I'm here, I'm a good candidate. Let's talk about what you should start with when you're writing your resume. First, it's the name. The name goes on the top of the resume, and your name in Lao culture can include also the nickname that you have in brackets. Further, you want to provide the email address. Let's talk about the email address. Email addresses should be professional. What I mean by professional, it should not include any funny things that we had, like nicknames or like things that we like, adjectives that we like to attribute to us when we were younger. So keep the email address as professional as possible. It should include your name and your last name, for example, and some numbers, but nothing more, nothing funny, nothing not serious. The third thing that you want to provide in your resume would be your telephone number. That would be the telephone number, the cell phone number probably, that they can actually use for reaching you most effectively. Make sure that this telephone number includes the area code, because they can be calling you from outside the city. And it's good if you have that same telephone number connected to major messengers. It is important also, among the contact details, to mention the home address. Why home address is important to mention in the resume? Because you would need some databases to check you're a registered legal resident in that home. This is according to the Lao culture. Date of birth also is an important factor for their decision making. Internationally, this can be considered as something that you would probably be reluctant to provide, but in Lao culture, it is important. So do mention your date of birth. Finally, some announcements, they have nationality and they have citizenship or ethnicity that you want to be providing in your resume. Here, to match that job announcement, you do want to mention the nationality, citizenship, or ethnicity that they require in the job announcement, if you have, of course, that ethnicity. So that would be another way for you to match the job announcement. Let me talk to you guys about the required components of your resume and about the optional or non-mandatory ones, but highly desirable ones. Let's start with the required ones. The following fields in the resume are required is your education and your experience. And your experience can include your professional experience, your internship experience, or your volunteering experience. The non-required, however, very highly desirable components of your resume, sections of your resume, could include any information about additional volunteering experience, about additional internship experience, your professional development, such as the courses and the conferences that you attended, awards, scholarships, and other achievements. It should include technical or other skills that you have, soft and hard. It should include the languages that you speak and the levels of their proficiencies, as well as if you feel like the employer would be interested in it. And if you feel like sharing this information also, you want to probably include the hobbies and interests at the very end of your resume. One of the sections that is considered to be non-required, however, is highly desirable in the resume is called the summary section. Summary section is a part that comes right after your name and your contact information. And really, as its name suggests, it summarizes, it highlights the most important parts of your resume. The parts that you want to stand out with Maybe those would be the achievements or the names of the companies that you worked for, or your skills that are a perfect match to the job announcement. Now, why do we need the summary? Because our communication, and career communication in particular, is our responsibility. And we want to make it as easy for the employer as possible to understand really in the short 4 or 5 seconds while reading the summary part who you are. Are you a good match? What is your brand? What is it that you can add in terms of value to the position, and how good of a match you are to the position announced? Good resumes should have an additional information which can vary and might be optional too. List them with the dates and places. What I mean here is the description of each company that you provide in your resume. This could be a good solution for resumes that do not have that much information, and this could be like the place filler. But in the modern day and age where everything is digital, you probably want to provide simply the hyperlinks to the company descriptions. What I mean is you can provide hyperlinks to the company websites. So you basically go to the About Us page of the company, you copy information, very short, brief information, and you create a hyperlink with the name of the company instead of just copying and pasting the entire thing. However, if you have a lot of space in your resume, that might be a solution for filling up some space. Also, it is required to mention not only the company name, not only the dates when you were involved there, not only the position as what you have been working with this company, but also the city and the country where this company is situated, and very, very importantly, the job functions or the activities that you were involved in this company. What do I mean by this? Describe clearly your job functions. So you probably want to use the bullet points or any other design solution, but make sure that the job functions that you had stand out from your resume and they are visible and they are kind of at a glance for the person who goes through your resume. Mention minimum 3 functions. You can go up to 4 or 5. Don't go too long though, because you don't want to be taking too much time from the person who reads your resume. And in the descriptions of those functions that you performed, you want to be brief, you want to be using favorable wording, and very importantly, you want to be as measurable and as concrete as possible. What I mean is include the achievements, numerical information, the number of people you mentioned, the number of companies that you partnered with, the dollar amount, or the LAOKIP amount, whatever you want, the money that you added with your functions, with your activity to this company. So be as measurable in your job functions as possible. Pay attention to the formatting or to the visibility of your resume. Here, what you can do, you can use the same fonts, you can use the same spacing, you can place similar type of information symmetrically and accordingly and logically. You want to be using, for example, if you're using capital letters for company names, be consistent and use capital letters for the second company and the third company and the fourth company. If you're using, for example, bolds for the positions that you had, use the bolds for the one company, the second company, the third company, and so on. So consistency and the appearance of your resume can really be important in terms of how you are perceived professionalism-wise and at a glance, or easy to go through kind of resume-wise as well. Usually internationally, the resumes should be limited to 1 page. You can go up to 2 pages maximum, but do not expect that people would be able and willing to read more pages about you. Why? Because they are very short of time. People do not spend too much time. They have, especially if they're hiring, they have a number of applicants applying to the job, and going through multiple pages of one resume creates some negativity in terms of, oh, how much time does this candidate take from me? And also doesn't allow them to focus on the important information here. So keep it to 2 pages maximum. Your purpose with your resume is to create the good first impression. This 30 seconds that they spend can be a decisive time period for your career. So keep it as short, as beautiful, as attractive, and as logical and structured as possible. Do not miss that chance. The biggest mistake of a job seeker is to use the same resume while applying to different jobs. What I mean here is you should be adjusting your resume to the job announcement that you're applying to, which means that you will end up having multiple types of resumes, multiple contents, multiple versions of resumes, depending on what company you're applying to. Again, remember, do not have only one resume and send it to all the jobs that you see, because that would be like a generic resume that does not really match the job announcement. What you want to be doing, you want to be adjusting your resume to a job announcement. Here, we have an example of an effective resume. You will see that under number 1, we have the name and the effective contact information that you want to be providing. Namely, this is your name, your nickname, and your last name, your email address, your telephone number, and your home address. Also, you want to be providing your date of birth and your nationality or ethnicity. This is number 1. Number 2, let's talk about this. This is the picture that you would probably want to place here. Some people say that picture can be a subject of discrimination of some kind. People might not like the face of the person. Some people say that no, actually, a lot of employers do want to see how this other person that they're going to be hiring looks. So this is a controversial issue, but if you are placing a picture on your resume, make sure that it is professional, that it is positive, that it reflects you in the best possible light. What I mean is really you want to avoid bad quality photos. You want to avoid like selfies that you do. You want to avoid pictures where you do not look professional. Number 3 is the summary part. Summary part, as mentioned, is the opportunity for you to show to your employer what is it that you stand out with and what are the highlights of your career. What is it that you want, what is the story that you want to tell them and you want the employer, potential employer, to grasp from your resume. Number 4 is your professional, your internship, and your volunteering experiences. As mentioned, there should be a certain format, there should be a certain style, and should be a certain very consistent and logical design that you adhere to, that you follow in this part. Further, you want to be mentioning your education. Now, by the way, there is a question here. Which one to mention first, your education or your professional experience? The rule of the thumb is the one that is more attractive, put it first. Why? Because people are going through resumes from top to down, and whatever you are extremely proud of, whatever you think is going to be making you a strong, very competitive candidate, that should go first. Also, another rule is that if you are applying for educational programs or the university to work for, if this is an academic position that you're applying to, probably they're going to be looking at your education and basing their decision on your education. So you want to be putting it first and then the professional experience. If it's a career in the real sector, if it's a career in business, probably they're going to be making decision on the professional and internship and volunteering experience, and only then your education. So in that case, professional experience should go first. Number 6 is professional development. As I mentioned, professional development, other achievements that you had, also can be a very important part of your resume, and their decision making can be based on the professional development. Professional development is, again, the conferences, the trainings that you attended. So you want to be mentioning the relevant ones so that they see that also you are not only educated, but also trained more narrowly, more specifically for something that you can be using in your job. And finally, the very bottom part of your resume is called Other. And here you want to be mentioning the languages, the skills, soft skills and hard skills that match the job announcement. And probably, if you find it culturally acceptable, the hobbies that you have. Again, your resume is probably the most important channel of distribution of your personal brand. You need to make sure that it fits the best practices of visibility and structure. The sample of the resume is provided to you in the e-learning materials. Please make sure that you use this opportunity to be presenting yourself to your potential employer in the best possible light and follow the advice that you got from this online course. Thank you.